So this video is going to be the continuation of our last video. In the last video, as you can see here in the screen, we talked about deep learning for computer vision using Pytorch. So if you haven't seen this video, I would request you to go and watch it once so that you can grasp the concept of this video better. So, okay, so if that is got covered, then what we are going to talk about today, it's mostly going to be about this paper. So if you see here, this is one of the pioneering paper in the field of image anomaly detection. This particular paper has been written by the scientist in Amazon AWS, and it is one of the highest accuracy in the MVTech public dataset. So if you go ahead and see the leaderboard of all the methods in this MVTech dataset, you see here the patch core. It has one of the highest dataset. In the previous video, we looked into the autoencoder method. But in this video, we are going to talk about the patch core method. So as the patch core algorithm itself is pretty complicated and involved multiple key concepts, I'm going to create multiple videos in order to explain each of those key concepts in a detailed and easy to understand manner, at least in a manner that I could understand. All right. So in this video, we are going to talk about what is distance-based anomaly detection. That's all is going to be the goal of our today's video. And all the code for this video is made available in this GitHub. You'll find the link to this GitHub in my description below. So let's roll the intro. So the key concept of this patch core algorithm comes from distance-based anomaly detection. And when we talk about distance-based algorithm, we cannot ignore k nearest neighbor. And this is the main, the core concept of this algorithm. So as we know, we basically in k nearest neighbor, we segment one data point based on its distance from other data point. That's it, as simple as that. So now we'll see how k nearest neighbor algorithm is used for anomaly detection especially. For now, let's assume that our dataset is only two-dimensional, and we have dataset only from the normal conditions. So this green squares represent our dataset, represent the data we already have from the normal condition plotted in a two-dimensional space. And for k nearest neighbor, first we have to define k, that how many number of nearest neighbor we want to select. In this case, let's say for the sake of simplicity, we decide k equal to 3. So whenever there is a new sample, we need to classify. So this is, let's say, is our new sample. So we'll select three nearest samples from this new sample, which is already existing in our data set, and we'll calculate the distance. We can calculate the sum of distance or mean of the distance, and that will be the anomaly score. If the anomaly score is less, that means it more likely belongs to the normal data set. However, if this anomaly score is larger, then we can say that, okay, this data may not belong to our normal data set and it can be an anomalous data. So for example, let's say this is the second point in our observation. And for that, we obtained the anomaly score just by taking three nearest samples from our data set and calculating the sum of those distances. However, here we'll see that anomaly score of B is definitely going to be greater than anomaly score of A. So the B point is highly likely to be a anomalous dataset compared to A. That's all. And the green points, which are already available to us as a normal dataset, we call it as a memory bank. So after we understand the concept of k nearest neighbor and how anomaly detection is done, now the question comes that how will we convert our images into this sort of data? So for that, we are going to use pre-trained network. In this case, let's say we have a normal image which is a 3 cross 224 cross 224 RGB image. We will pass it through a pre-trained ResNet 50 model, and we'll discard the last fully connected layer. Hence, the feature we'll get is a 2048 shaped vector. From the image, we'll get a vector of 2048 shape. Set. Let's say for the case of an example that we have 100 samples of normal dataset available to us. So we have total 100 images. Then we will use the pre-trained network as shown here to convert them into a 2048 shaped vector. So as we have 100 samples, the samples represented in each row and the columns represent the number of features we have, 2048. Alright, that's how we convert our the dataset, the image dataset we have, to a tabular dataset with shape 100 or the number of samples cross 2048. This is what called a memory bank that we saw in the previous slide as well. Alright, so now the question comes, do we need to use all these 2048 features available to us in the memory bank? Because as we need to calculate the distance from each sample with all the 100 rows of our memory bank, it will be easier if we have less number of features. So that's why what we are going to do, we are going to do a feature selection method. For the feature selection method, we are going to use standard deviation of each feature as a metric. So if you see, for if there is one feature which is not changing much, then that feature is not going to play a big role in distinguishing whether the whether the dataset belong to one class or another. So that's why what we did, from this memory bank, we sorted all the feature based on their standard deviation. And after sorting all the features according to their standard deviation, this is what we got. So here you can see that only the first 500 features have a higher standard deviation, but rest all of the feature, 1500 feature barely have good amount of standard deviation. So that's why we assume that we can neglect those particularly those columns from our memory bank, because they don't vary much, hence they don't have a very good predictive power. And keeping that in mind, what we do is we only select the 50 columns having high variance or high standard deviation. And for that, now we have a compact memory bank with each sample having only 500 features. That's it. But when we use this method and we perform the same thing on the same dataset, exact same dataset, we got an AUC score of 0.66. It's not very bad, but still it's not very good. But why did I perform this k nearest neighbor algorithm if I do not get a better result than what we got previously using just autoencoding? The answer is, right now we did this comparison of k nearest neighbor on the entire images. However, in the patch core paper that I showed at the initial slide, it doesn't do on the entire image, but on the patches. The patches contains higher amount of anomaly information compared to the whole image. So what we will do in the next step is we will take each part of this image, each patch, and then compare with the other patch of the memory bank or normal dataset. And it will go like that. For the next, it will come, the red patch will again compare with each and every patch of the normal dataset, and that's how we'll hopefully get a better result than comparing the entire images. And this is also known as patch comparison. So yeah, so that was all about the presentation. Now we'll go and have a quick look at the implementation in Jupyter Notebook, how we implemented this k nearest neighbor algorithm. So yeah, coming to the Jupyter Notebook, the first cell is very basic. We just import the necessary libraries. In the next step, we import a ResNet model with the pre-trained weights, as you can see here. Then what we did is we used all the layers of the ResNet model except for the last layer, as you can see here, and then we make all the layer of the ResNet model untrainable. So after we loaded our pre-trained model, next is to create the transformations that we will do on our images. But before that, let's visualize what we can see in the EP project. We are going to first extract the 2048 dimensional vector from each image, and then we are going to project them in a two-dimensional space, and then we will see that how can we segregate between different classes when we project them into a two-dimensional space. This is called visualizing the embeddings. Embeddings is the 2048 dimensional vector. So first what we did is we first iterate through all the categories that we have in our test case. And what we did then is we passed the images through the transformation, then through our model to get the 2048 dimensional feature, and then we appended that to the ResNet feature list that we initialized before. And finally, we converted all the list of ResNet feature into a NumPy array. Then we import the tsne algorithm from sklearn, and then we just plot a scatter plot. So this is interesting. So if we look into this scatter plot, different color represent which class the data belong to. We see that the good images belong to the good class, which is represented in yellow color here, but they are not very well clustered together. They are in fact distributed everywhere. There is a group here and there is another group here. Also the fault belonging to color, which is represented in blue, they're also not very clustered. There are some here, but many of the faults are not well differentiable if we just project them into a two-dimensional space. That is a good way to visualize that how difficult is our task. As in this case, we see that they're not very well distinguishable. Different faults have a very big overlap between them. That means our anomaly detection problem or classification problem is more difficult. All right. So after the visualization in two-dimensional, now we are going to create the memory bank that we saw at the starting of the presentation. And for that, we are just going to iterate through all the images that is present in the good, in the training and in the good samples or the normal samples. Then we are going to append that into a list memory bank, and then we convert that into a Pytorch tensor, and then shift the entire tensor into our GPU for faster computation, obviously. And if we see that if we sort all the columns that we saw in the previous case according to their standard deviation, and we plot, we see here that only the first 500 or the top 500 columns have very high variance to them, and rest 1500 feature do not have a very good variance. So it doesn't make sense to keep them in our memory bank and have a larger space in the GPU. All right. So what we did is in the next step, we only select the top 500 indices of the memory bank to be kept. And so this new memory bank has only 500 features. So now you see we have 280 samples and 500 is the number of features we have. So alright, now that we have created our memory bank, our next step is to calculate to see that from the good images or the okay cases of the images, what is the average nearest neighbor distance. So for that, what we are going to do is we are going to iterate through all the images present in our training dataset, especially the good images, and then we are going to calculate the score. So how we are going to calculate the score? So first of all, we are taking the image, then we are passing it through our transforms, bringing that value into our GPU using .CUDA, and unsqueeze mean we are adding the batch dimension. After that, we are passing that value through our model to get the 2048 dimensional vector in this feature variable. After that, what we are going to do, this is the important step. We are going to calculate the pairwise distance between all the samples in the memory bank and the feature. But one catch here is our memory bank has only 500 feature, but 500 columns, but this feature variable here has 2048 columns. Hence, we are going to select the 500 indices only that we defined before here. Here, the selected indices basically selects the top 500 columns having the highest amount of variance. Alright, so with this we'll basically get the pairwise distances, and then we are going to sort them from lower to higher value. But we are only concerned from the lower value because we are considering the nearest neighbor, not the farthest neighbor. Hence, we are going to select k nearest neighbor, the first k nearest neighbor. In this case, I am taking k to be 50, but this is you can select iteratively and trial and error method, and then taking the mean of those values. You can take mean, sum, it depends. It's not going to change the final result. And then I'm going to append that in the y-score value. And if I plot the histogram of y-score, I see that most of my values lie behind 2.6 or 2.7. Next, I'm going to carry out the same exact thing, but for the not okay cases only. But in the not okay case, there is also, in the test case of this dataset, there is also some good samples in there. So if I do the same thing and plot the histogram, I see that there are few samples which lie within my threshold and some samples lie outside. And to know that whether this value belongs to a good case or the faulty case, I'm just going to do the evaluation matrix. And here is the final evaluation matrix. Here you can say I get an AUC ROC score of 0.74, and this is the confusion matrix what it looks like. All right. So that was all about this video. And if you have watched till now, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And in the upcoming video, I'm going to show more of the key concepts to know better the patch core model, which is our goal. All right. Till then, stay tuned.